Okay, today we are going to be doing multiplying and dividing radicals. Okay, so first we're going to multiply. The numbers on the outside are, you can only multiply like things. Okay, so we're going to multiply the 4 and the 3. So when I multiply those, I get negative 12. Then I'm going to multiply the radicals. And you can multiply radicals. Okay, what's inside of them. So I'm going to get root 60. Okay, now remember in the last lesson, we learned how to break up root 60. So we are going to have negative 12 times, whoopsies, we break up root 60 into 4 and 15. Okay, because one of them is this perfect square root. What is the square root of 4, Declan?
2.
Okay, so we've got negative 12 times 2, but this root 15 we can't do anything to, so it stays underneath the root. So I got negative 12 times 2, which is negative 24 root 15. And that is my answer. Okay? Now, we are going to take this root 2 and we have to distribute it. Okay? Now, I can only multiply the like things. So root 2, can I multiply by the 4 that's not in a root?
No.
Correct. I have to multiply the root 2 by the root 10. So when I do that, I'm going to get negative 4 times root 20 minus, now remember the distributive property, you have to multiply both terms. So the root 2, can I multiply by this 4, Colin?
No.
I'm going to take the root 2 and multiply it by the other root 2. What's 2 times 2, Colin?
2 times 2. 4.
Correct. So I get 4 root 4. Now I'm going to break this down. So I get negative 4 root 4 times root 5 minus 4 times the square root of 4 is what, Declan?
2.
So now I take the square root of this 4 and I get 2. But the root 5 I can't do anything with. What is 4 times 2, Colin?
Wait, 4 times 2? 8.
Very good. 8. So I get negative 8 root 5 minus 8. Okay? Now we're going to go over here and then we're going to do what's called FOIL. Remember, FOIL, you take the first of each parenthesis and I multiply them. And can I multiply something that's in a root with something that is not in a root?
Yeah. No. Gosh, you're not even.
Okay, so a negative times a negative is a positive.
Okay.
So we get 4 root 9. Then I take this and I multiply it by negative 1. A negative times a negative is a
Positive.
So we get plus root 3. Now I go inner. So I multiply the two inner terms. 1 times negative root, or negative 4 root 3. So I get minus 4 root 3. And then I do the last. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Now I got to simplify this. So the square root of 9 is what, Declan?
3.
So I get 4 times 3. Now I can combine these. Remember we did this in the last lesson. We combined the coefficients. So I get 1 minus 4, which is negative 3. And then remember you keep the root 3. minus 1. So now I've got 12 minus 3 root 3 minus 1. So now I can combine the 12 and the negative 1. Colin, what is 12 minus 1?
12 minus 1 equals 11.
Correct. So we've got 11 minus 3 root 3. And that is my answer. Okay, now we are going to divide by radicals. So I have a root 10 and 125. And again, you can only divide things that are both underneath the root. So what goes into 10 and 125? Yes, do you know, Colin?
100.
No.
Ooh, ooh.
Yes.
Mrs. Waller, I think I have the answer.
Yes, Declan.
5.
Very good. So I'm going to divide each of these by 5. And remember, we're just doing the roots because they're the things you can't do something that's out of a root with something that's in a root. So I'm going to divide each of them by 5. So I get 3 root 2 over root 25. Now, I'm going to take the square root of 25. What is the square root of 25?
Mrs. Palmer, I
Yes.
think I have the answer.
Yes.
5.
So I get 3 root 2 all over 5. Okay? Now, you can't have a square root in your denominator. Okay, so here, I'm first going to do what I did over here. I'm going to simplify the fraction. So what goes into 8 and 12 or 20? What can I divide 8 and 20 by? Declan?
Mrs. Palmer, I have the answer.
What?
4.
Okay, so I'm going to divide each of them by 4. So I get on top root 2 over 2 root 5. Now, it's very tempting to want to cancel these two out, but you can't because one is in a root and one is not in a root, so you can't do that. Okay? So, but again, you cannot have a square root in your denominator, and we do, so we got to get rid of it. And the way that you get rid of it is you multiply the top and the bottom by whatever that root is. Okay, so I'm multiplying the top by root 5 and the bottom by root 5. So root 2 times root 5 is what?
Mrs. Palmer,
Yes.
it's 10, right?
But correct, but you have to have the root in there. So it's root 10 over 2 times root, what is 5 times 5?
Mrs. Palmer, I think I have the answer.
Yes.
25.
Don't forget the root. Okay? So now I've got root 10 over 2 root 25. Now I've got to take the square root of 25. What is the square root of 25?
Mrs. Palmer, I have the answer.
Yes, sir.
It is 5.
Correct. So I've got 2 times 5 in the denominator. Now I multiply them and I get root 10 over 10. And I don't have a root in the denominator, so we're good. And that's all. Remember to do your homework, boys.
Oh, that's great!